Now, we're getting closer to the Mexican-American War sparking off here, and it's all basically over this border dispute, right? Is it the Rio Grande or is it the Nueces River? What is the true boundary of Texas, right? The United States has already annexed Texas at this point. So the President of the United States, James K. Polk, is going to try himself to settle this border dispute. He is going to send a man by the name of John Slidell to Mexico City to try to negotiate with the president and with Congress over this border dispute and try to secure the Rio Grande as the border of Texas. All right, so Slidell goes to Mexico City, and his main concern is to settle the border dispute, and basically his negotiation technique, his plan is to offer Mexico that the U.S. will assume the debts of Mexico with all U.S. citizens. So at this time, the Mexican government is taking out loans, sometimes from private U.S. citizens, and this debt is over $3 million. So it's pretty considerable. And so what the U.S. is doing, John Slidell in Mexico is saying, hey, we will assume that debt. You will not owe that $3 million to these U.S. citizens. We'll take it over for you. But what are you going to do for us? You have to admit that the Rio Grande is the true border of Texas. Slidell also has been given permission to offer to buy New Mexico and California for a sum of up to $30 million. And so, the intention here is to expand the territory of the U.S. James K. Polk, he is one of those individuals who strongly supports territorial expansion. It's what he ran on when he was running for president. He claimed that he would gain this territory, California, New Mexico, and also the Oregon territory he wanted to gain as well. And so an offer was to be made to Mexico to buy New Mexico and California for up to $30 million, right? Plus assume the debts of Mexico to U.S. citizens. The problem is John Slidell never got a chance to make this offer. Why? Because the Mexican government refused to meet with him. All right. The President Herrera at this time, did not want to look soft. Like I said earlier, he doesn't want to look soft, and him agreeing to negotiate with the United States on the border of Texas would have made him appear soft to his political enemies. And so he refused to meet with John Slidell. So Slidell never officially got to offer to buy New Mexico and California. But why? Why is it that the United States is so interested in buying New Mexico and California? Well, I already said earlier that in New Mexico, there's the Santa Fe trade, right, which was very lucrative, and the United States wanted to gain control of that. But in California, there's a number of reasons why the United States was interested in the area. For one, there were rumors going around that Great Britain was looking to buy California from Mexico. And so Great Britain, of course, is a rival of the United States at this point. But most importantly, the United States wants to gain control of the ports in California. Right? Very important to control the ports like in San Diego, San Francisco. From these ports, the U.S. would be able to conduct trade overseas, across the Pacific Ocean, with Asia, China, India. It's perfect to have those ports there. So a lot of money could be made with that. So if the United States was able to gain control of of California, then they would be able to have access to the Asian markets, right? And so those are some of the reasons why the United States was interested in California. Another reason is the hide and tallow trade that took place in Southern California. In California, you have a number of large ranches or ranchos that developed after secularization of the mission churches and the mission lands. Those lands eventually went to private settlers, and they established large ranches on them, had a lot of livestock, and the selling of the hides of those livestock, as well as tallow, which is made from the fat of the livestock, and can be made into a number of items, such as candles. This was a huge trade that was going on in Southern California. Made a lot of money for the Californios. So if the United States was able to gain control of California, then they would have control of this hide and tallow trade as well. It's making a lot of money. And of course, there's a lot of fertile land in California that the U.S. had its eye on, so they were looking to gain control of that agricultural land. So all of these are reasons why the United States would be interested in acquiring California and why they were willing to pay so much money to Mexico in order to obtain California. So we're getting closer to the beginning of the war, right? Tensions are high. The United States is trying to negotiate with Mexico, but Mexico doesn't want to negotiate with them. As why should they? They have no reason to want to sell their territory, especially when it's lucrative territory like New Mexico and California. So things in Mexico spark off when the President Herrera, is overthrown by one of his generals, Mariano Paredes. And that's Paredes right over here. Meanwhile, in the United States, President Polk has decided to send a military unit to protect the Rio Grande border. And he sends this group under General Zachary Taylor down to the Rio Grande area where they construct a fort known as Fort Texas. Now remember, this is within the disputed territory, right? So technically, Mexico claims this as part of its land, and the United States has no right sending a military group in there. They could consider it an invasion of Mexico, right? So General Taylor brings his group down there, and they set up this fort. And when the new president of Mexico, Paredes, hears about this, he also is going to send a military unit to protect and defend the border. And what happens is there's going to be a shootout between U.S. and Mexican forces known as the Thornton Affair. The Thornton Affair basically happens when a small detachment led by Seth B. Thornton encounters part of the Mexican military, and they are pretty much ambushed, and a number of U.S. soldiers are captured. Some are killed, but most of them are captured, including their captain, which is Seth B. Thornton. And at this point, when word gets back to the United States about the Thornton Affair, where U.S. troops were killed and captured by Mexican military, this gives James K. Polk his reason for declaring war on Mexico. And so he will basically put it to the U.S. Congress that he wants to declare war on Mexico. After the Thornton Affair, Mexico will cut off diplomatic relations with the United States. James K. Polk takes that as an insult, right? That there's no more diplomatic relations with Mexico. Plus, the Thornton Affair is actual physical violence, and so that's when Polk proceeds to bring his declaration of war to Congress, and Congress will agree after some debate.